Hi everyone. So welcome to the Passion Animator Talk Show, and I'm really blessed and happy to start this show so that the students get educated about the animation, the whole process of animation, and about the animation industry as well. The main purpose behind starting this show is to create awareness about the animation industry, like about the career in animation in India, so that people come to know about this creative field and students get educated directly from the industry people who are already working in the industry since so many years, and they can share their knowledge which would add value to the other people who are watching this show. So today our guest is a person who is working as an animator at DreamWorks Animation Studios in United States, and he has around 20 years of experience, more than 20 years of experience in animation industry, working as an animator and on so many amazing projects like Puss in the Boots, Madagascar, Boss Baby 2, Trolls, and many more. So I'm really excited and I'm really blessed to call him on the show. And I feel really great about it. And I really want to thank him that he took out his valuable time to come here and share his experience. So that would help others to look to the animation industry from a different perspective. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And I would like to welcome Mr. Prashanth Cavale. He is joining us right away from United States. So let's welcome Mr. Prashanth Cavale.
Oh yeah, thanks so much. My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and happy to be here. And hopefully, I can share some insights. Now, before you actually get into the whole thing, I just really wanted to know about you. Like
Yes,
how
yes,
did you come to know about me, and what are you like? Basically, are you an animator as well?
yes, yes. I was working till the last year as an animator. Almost since around last seven plus years, I'm working as an animator in India.
Yeah. So now you're full time into kind of mentoring people.
Yes, actually, what I figured out is there is a lot of gap in the learning thing and what we experience in the actual environment. So I want that they should have clarity before they get into animation. And
Nice.
this would, if you share your knowledge, like you have almost 20 years of experience, what I've got to know from your profile. I was just checking, and I'm really grateful that I'm even talking to you, and you have so much of experience and knowledge, and you worked on so many great projects. Like I feel very amazed that how you do it. I used to do animation, but I always like think that how you guys do so much detailed work, like everything, the expressions, the feeling, the life you create it. Like I tried, but I'm not able to do that in that fashion or in that. So I want to know the process as well, like how you start it or how you actually think. What do you think before starting even animation? Like if you get some file or so now is what happening now. I have the industry knowledge. Still, I don't know how to do that. What you are doing at that level, but the beginners don't have the idea only. Even after completing the course, they don't know how to start a shot, like what should be the
Yeah.
parameters you should think about. So I'm creating awareness about that also. Mainly I want to create awareness, and whoever is the right person, I want to give them the right knowledge in the right amount of time, not to waste 3 years 4 years. Like if you want to become an animator, why do you need to learn all the things? Modeling, texturing, that is not at all required, but they don't know currently that that is not required. Maybe if we can share our example, or maybe there will be a lot of people I would like experience this sharing, they share their knowledge, so then they would come to know that okay, this is not the industry like we are thinking about. Like we don't have to learn like basically all the things. We should know about the process, but it is not necessary to learn everything.
Nice, man. Nice to know about your outlook and what do you think. So it makes
Thank
sense for
you.
sure. Like you mentioned, like you really want to
Yes, like
teach
I
people the right way, and I felt that at some point in time I was also in that boat, right, like uh, back then it was even more we didn't have as much of information back then,
yes,
so I was also in the same boat.
yes,
So I thought if there's any way I could give back and share my experience and probably share some positivity about the whole process and the journey, it might help someone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really like I really.
No, it's totally fine, totally fine.
Yes. So, like, how did it all start? Like, when did you had this thought of becoming an animator or?
So, I mean, I am basically an engineer, and I graduated out in the year 2003, 2004, I think. And then my final year project happened to be a design project. And for the presentation of the project, we happened to interact with 3D Studio Max. And, we were designing a antenna fin mounting plate for an aircraft. And so that required us to have a three-dimensional presentation of that model, like printouts at least. So we felt 3D Studio Max was like I mean, back then that's what we knew, and so that was my first. That was the first time I really explored 3D Studio Max, and I really got fascinated. I did a small course on 3D Studio Max and After Effects later on at Arena Multimedia in Bangalore. And then basically I was placed in a company, and then we had a startup in Bangalore called Raindrops Animation. We used to do small scale to medium scale work. So I was a generalist. So around the year 2004, I could say that my career started off as a generalist. I would do bits and pieces of everything, like, modeling, texturing, rigging. And but on a smaller scale, like we would do some stuff for game assets for some companies in the UK. And I think when around that time is when I really was fascinated by animation, because to me that was the thing that intrigued me the most. The fact that something had to move in a believable way added that extra layer of challenge, so that's kind of what really got me going. And so I did Animation Mentor late 2007. So from 2004 to 2007ish, I was like a generalist. 2007 is when I did end of 2007 is when I did Animation Mentor. And I think when I finished, it was 2008, 2009, maybe early 2009. I was really fortunate that around the same time, DreamWorks had opened their unit in Bangalore.
Yes, yes.
And this is all luck, like totally, like, because I was in Bangalore and it just happened right there. And
Yes.
so I was also very fortunate that when I went there, initially I think I met the team, and initially I was told that they're not looking for people. I thought, okay, it's okay. I mean, I cannot even think of DreamWorks for now. I should get more experience and stuff like that. So I was back to doing what I was doing. And I think after a while, like a few months, I got a mail from them saying that, hey, would you like to come over for a test or something? So then I went for a test and I got through. I was like, I couldn't believe myself. I got my first big animation job with DreamWorks, and it was like an unbelievable experience. So yeah, I started there, and then 2009 till 2000. Well, I was there for almost 8 years. 2017, early 2017, when DreamWorks became, DreamWorks didn't exist anymore, and it became like Micros, like a temporary team there. So yeah, I was there with that unit overall for about eight years, I would say. So yeah, to summarize, yes, my fascination towards animation when I was a generalist is what really got me really interested into animation, and I did Animation Mentor, and then
you were also
my journey
fortunate,
started.
as well as I was also fortunate about getting into animation, like from that engineering thing and right away into this animation. So
Yeah.
that is something matching for both of us, like the engineering stream as well. But I dropped off and you cleared that engineering. So that is a good part that you did it. Like, how do you feel about animation? Like becoming an animator. When you become an animator and you have so many experience, so many years of experience, so, like, how do you feel about being an animator? Like, what lifestyle you have?
I think it's the most I would say, satisfying profession in a way, because I've been an animator for almost 13 years now, and I think there's not been a day where I really feel like I need to go to work, or I need to start this or whatever. Like it kind of becomes a part of you, your life, and your thinking, and it's very hard to stay away from animation. I mean, as much as I would like to do that, because I have a family, but it's really hard to take that off your mind, and you constantly are thinking of I mean, not constantly, but once in a while, definitely the thought comes in, like either your shot, or a movie that you saw, or some kind of influence of some illustrator, or something that you saw on Instagram. I follow a lot of illustrators and 2D artists on Instagram, and then um, something of that sort. Like, I would say that it really also enriches your outlook towards life, because being an animator kind of can get really brutal sometimes. Like, you
Yes.
put in so much of passion into what you do, and then it sometimes gets ripped apart, and you have to have the heart to
Yes.
really accept that, and then move on, like really tell yourself and really push yourself in going ahead. And I think it's kind of summarizes what life is about, right? Like,
Yes.
on a bigger scale, that's what life is about.
Yes.
And again, like everything that you do, you put in so much of passion, and you really love what you do, but at the same time, you need to have a sense of detachment to whatever you do, and that's what it really teaches you.
Yes.
So I would say, yeah, I mean, I'm really fortunate and blessed, because I never planned to be an animator.
This is the same.
Really, like it's not like many people have this, that that when from their childhood they have this
Yes. Yes.
ambition to become
Yes.
an animator.
Absolutely.
In my case, it was never that. Like, it probably just happened by chance.
Yes.
I was like I was saying, I could have probably become a software engineer.
Yes.
um, and I really don't know, because like I said, the final year project exposed me to something, and I got really interested into it, and then one thing led to the other, and
I did
like,
not
yeah,
know
I
about.
guess I'm super lucky and fortunate.
I did not know about these things, and a lot of things are matching. Like you are also like coming into. You did not know about this animation, and you came into it, and that became your like your life. And the same thing happened with me. But like I was not like you said. You should have that heart. Of sometimes it feels it hurts. Like when you put so much of passion into what you do, and that's what happened. But as my background was not that, like everybody was into business, so like every time when you put much time in working, and then you come home and you hear that same things, uh, traditional, that why are you wasting your time and this and that. So might be that because of that, or I couldn't handle it, so I switched it, and that's what happened. But I'm now very much clear that okay, like you like working on the projects, but I like talking about it and sharing my knowledge to the other people, like who are behind me, like who want the actual knowledge. So I'm trying to just convey them the actual message that they should know. So I was going through your profile, and I came to know that like you have worked on so many great projects. Like after just reading the names of the projects, I was so amazed that I'm going to like talk to you. So it really feels great, and you have worked on like amazing projects like Madagascar, Puss in Boots, Kung Fu Panda, and this Boss Baby 2, Paddington 2, Trolls. So a lot of movies you have worked on. And like, how did you practice these skills? Like from where you started learning, or what did you actually practice? Like by coming to this end. Generally, what is happening is now students don't know what they should practice. They learn only walk cycle, run cycle, and those kind of things, and they keep practicing that. But they don't know what exactly they should practice to improvise their animation skills.
Yeah, so when it comes to animation, right, like almost it's never ever a spoon feeding kind of a scenario where you kind of expect that somebody will really teach you how to really work with the curves, and
Yes.
how to do things and all that.
Mm.
I also started off with that expectation that, hey, I need to do, probably they'll teach me how to do it, because I was like completely overwhelmed by what needs to be done.
Mm.
Although I liked moving things and doing things, but then, I was like hoping that somebody would really teach me,
Mm.
and that kind of just still remained a dream. Like I never, I mean, I did come through come across certain tutorials, but then a lot of it happened through exploration. I think it's very important that you make mechanics your base. Like, you really have an understanding of mechanics. So what happens is that when I talk about mechanics, it's not usually the way it's interpreted sometimes. Like, and I think what needs to be really tried out is something that's a little more unique. And that kind of is a good starting point, I would say. I know as a student, you really don't, you probably don't start off with all these ideas, but then
Yes.
I think it's always good to have something like that to really spark off your whole uh, ideation in your mind.
Yes.
So that way things will happen more naturally, and it will not be like, you would be following a formula of something that's already done. And I went about the usual way, man. Like, like, uh, I mean, my test,
Good
my
experience.
experience was all through Animation Mentor. Like you have
Yes.
this spherical, that ball kind of a character with his two legs, which
Yes.
starts off with weight shift.
Yes.
And again, when it comes to weight shift, you need to ask yourself questions as to like, what can I do just other than weight shift? Like, you would fall into the same trap of doing things the same way, and
Mm.
everything will start to look formulaic to you. But if you can add something to it, some idea to it, to make that weight shift look more interesting, that's a good way to go about. And then we had these jumps. So
Mm.
basically, another thing that I would like to voice out is, uh, there's a lot of idea about overlap and how people handle it. And I did that mistake too. Like when you're animating, you tend to overlap things too much.
Yes.
But it's very important to keep, in your tests, especially when I see mechanics and tests, like the head seems to be a lot out of control. I think
Mm.
it's very important to keep the head in focus. And so things like these, that it's also part of mechanics, but then you really understand what needs to be done the right way.
Mm.
um, Thinking of your arms and your head as
Mm.
like power centers
Mm.
is one way you could approach mechanics, where if you were to just do a simple test of a weight shift and somebody picking a glass from the table,
Yes.
um, there's a lot of things that's happening with the body, but then everything starts from the brain, and then it's with the eye, and then with the head, and then with your arm. So you're not overlapping your elbow to get your arm up and all that. That's not the right way. Like you would right away approach with your arm,
Yes.
but then there's a sense of leading with your arm and then your body following.
Yes.
That's where you're really trying to work out the mechanics and trying to make it. um, so these are things that uh, I really practiced to
Yes.
really try to break myself from ways that were done. But of course, like this was around the time I had almost finished Animation Mentor,
Yes.
because my Animation Mentor tests were all like very horrible. Like, if I look back, I can't even watch them right now.
You
Um,
need to explore
but
basically.
things like these, and then practicing. Um, I mean, it's really hard to really pinpoint something, because
Yes.
so many hours go into it, and really
Yes.
dialogue animation,
Mm.
and really basically practicing observation, right?
Yes.
Like
Observation is the must.
and also I would really analyze works from different animators, like demo reels, like really frame through them and really see what they're doing.
Mm.
And if that was an idea that I had in my mind, what I would have done,
Mm.
and as opposed to what they're doing, and how I can enrich, I mean, improve my view site, like how I can uh, uh,
Putting out your idea.
what is it that I can add to my
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
to really reach that kind of animation, be it breakdown or be it performance choices, or
Mm.
you know uh,
So you,
yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I'm probably a little vague with this answer, but
yeah,
what I practiced is
like those acting and putting your new thoughts into what you see, like a new
yeah,
way of doing things, not just what
that's
you learn, and you put your thoughts into it, what from what you learn.
that's kind of what I really started to do, at least at the end of Animation Mentor, and
Mhm.
even at work, right? Like even to this date, every show, every shot that you work on
Mm.
is still based on the same principles. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what
Yes.
new can you add to it? I feel when it comes to practicing, it's very important. It's very important to practice the primary mechanics exercises, which teach you weight shift and jumps, and and then basically anything to do with your torso and your arms and your head. So basically trying to treat your palms and the head as power centers that really drive any action that you do, and not necessarily having an overlappy approach to everything. So that's something that because like when you're doing something with intent, you always tend to either approach it with your hand or with your head. You look at something, it's with your head. If you reach for something which is with your hand, and unless you're being like you're hit by a ball from the side, and that's when you would drag.
Yes.
So basically incorporating these ideas, like so thinking of power centers when you're trying out mechanics test. And then I practiced pantomime a lot. I used to practice pantomime exercises where I change the mannerisms of a character. Like he comes in probably happy and then he ends up sad, or he comes in excited, then he goes like afraid. Showing a contrast and
Yes.
showing a particular beat in the shot where that switch happens.
Yes.
That's something I used to try. It's a good thing to practice also, I think. And then dialogue animation. Um, I would say subtle acting is as challenging as a broader
Yes.
acting.
And that's what
Definitely,
I
yeah. A two-character dialogue is really appreciated because you have a sense of the over-the-shoulder camera and how you're really staging things and how you're drawing the eye. That's all very much crucial. So I did practice that as well. And
a lot of
and
practice.
then I practiced some cartoony ideas as well, like of whatever little I knew about cartoony animation back then. So I think at least it gave me a sense of exploring different styles and different things in animation before I could start to apply and look for jobs.
So you worked on a lot of projects, like a lot of great animation movies. So which of the projects did you feel like most exciting or most connected to you?
Almost everything, man. Because see, basically, I'm not very attached to the name and the glamour that it brings along every project.
Yeah.
I'm not really attached to that. Like I really don't,
No,
because
might be
to me,
something you are some short or something you might be attached to, like this is
yeah, of
what
course,
I
like
worked on that.
work-wise, yeah. In terms of project names, is what I mentioned. Like I don't tend to get attached to the what the project is and what it caters to and all that. But it's rather more of what I can explore
Yeah.
in that project, and in that way, I would say I had a lot of fun on, of course, on Penguins of Madagascar,
Yeah.
because I was a lead on Skipper, and it was an amazing, like a memorable project. Like like we learned a lot in that project. Like we really, our learning curve like went up this way, and that was one project. And then I think on Kung Fu Panda as well. Like though I was on it for a short while, I really enjoyed working on Kung Fu Panda. And then Trolls was also a good experience because I was a supervisor. I was like liaisoning between the teams in Glendale and in Bangalore.
Yes.
So that was another good experience, a project close to me. And then
So then,
Boss Baby 2 was good. I got to do some very good,
as I saw
very good
the
work.
short, like you're showing the Boss Baby 2, it was really great.
Thanks, man. So yeah, these were some of the projects that.
Like, how do you approach to the shot? Like, if something is assigned to you, like you have to do this shot. So, how do you start it? Like, what is your thought process, or what do you think before starting that shot? Do you directly open up the file, or you do some work before starting the shot? Yes.
Obviously, there's you spend a lot of time trying to get. Um, so basically, what I do is I open the layout version of the shot, the editorial version of the shot, and just go through it, just play it over and over again, and then probably play it in context with the other shots, the surrounding shots, and And then there are a lot of things that really tell me as to what I need to carry on into my shot, and then where I need to leave it, in terms of the character performance, or the intensity, or whatever it may be. So that kind of gives me an idea as to what the shot is about and what I need to plan. With these in mind, I do one round of reference. I'm not very good at my acting and all of that stuff. But if it comes to physical stuff, like, I mean, that's more doable. But then when it comes to cartoony stuff as well, like, I tend to just use certain ideas of what I enact. So my reference is usually not all that good, but I do tend to get certain things out of it. Um, so yeah, I do my round of reference, and then
So
I
like
come back.
you
What's that?
sketch it, or like you do it handwork, like on the paper,
No, 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 I shoot
poses.
a video reference.
Okay, so you do the acting part, or you can like
Yes.
you take the help of others as well.
Sometimes I do, because if there's a multi-character shot, or if there's a lead who's really specific to the way the I mean, who's really good at the way
Yes.
he enacts that particular character,
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably take his help. But yeah, so in my case, it's more like, yeah, I do the reference, and then I come back. I have a list of takes, and then I see what's the best version, and then what works best in each of those takes, and then I make an edit. Um, so it may not be the best version, but
Yeah,
it may be just ideas.
ideas.
So I'll have one idea from one take and another idea from the other, and then like that, I probably stitch around 4 or 5 different ideas.
Oh.
And so at that point in time, sometimes what happens is that I kind of start to enact it out, even while sitting and watching the whole thing play. I'm starting to enact it out in a way that, okay, fine, I'm starting to feel this whole acting. So I might just go and do one more final reference that encompasses all these ideas, or I might just leave it there, and I might just carry on. It depends on how crazy the deadline is,
Yeah, the
the
deadlines.
milestones are. So then I just go start. Um, I use the copy pairs methods to block shots out. If it's something that's very specific to, like, a gesture or something that I really want, the way I had in my reference, I would probably uh, put keys in every 2 frames. I'd go in twos. Or if not, I just go beat by beat, and like everybody does, like, it's a
Yeah,
combination of pose to pose and
yeah,
straight
yeah,
ahead method
yeah.
that I block. And we have, I don't do blocking in stepped. I do something that's called clamped. I mean, we have something called
Yes,
clamped in.
clamp, yes.
um, so I use that, and it gives me a nice interpolation between them. So, and then definitely at places, I definitely do breakdowns. So I don't want it to be very uniform in the way.
Yeah.
So breakdown, at least I have a brief indication as to what I'm leading and where I'm following. And then it goes on, and then it's like, it's really hard to really describe, because it just gets
Mm-hmm.
mixed up with things. And
Yes,
I
it is
I
basically
all I
flow.
usually tend to go, you know beat by beat when it comes to. So when I block it this way, like I mentioned. But when I go into doing the animation pass, I go beat by beat. That way I'm really getting the essence of what that whole beat
Like
is, and then I
a
go to the
small
next one.
part, like a chunk, like a little chunk, and
Yeah,
chunk by
yeah,
chunk.
chunk by chunk. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
not the
Some
whole
people
part.
do it the other way around. Some people do a body pass on the whole shot, and
Okay.
then a shoulder pass on the whole shot, and the head pass. Uh, to me, I prefer doing it this way.
So, like,
Yeah.
could you just share, if you can, like the work you did, or maybe you can show us like the blocking passes or the differentiation, so that we can like come to know, okay, at this level you can do the blocking, and maybe you can, what are the changes you can do in the steps, like in the passes you have the blocking pass, the primary, the secondary, and how you add the details, the secondary specifically.
Yeah. So wait, let me just
Like I've been
again.
always thinking about this, that how you add those very, very minute details. Like you do the blocking, we do the blocking, and then we do the primary pass as well. But when it comes to secondary, at that time we get stuck that, okay, what what we can do, what more we can add.
You always have to think of performance, man. Like, it's not just doing something for the sake of doing because, hey, this looks very stiff, I need to add some movement, just put some movement. No, like, at every point in time, I will see if I can link that to a larger motive of that character. Like,
Yeah,
it could be a small thing, but then it could, I'll try to link it to a real motive.
yeah,
So that way I know, why that action happened, and it maybe justifies why I'm doing something, rather than just putting something just for the sake of making it move.
This is
I almost
what
never do it. Like, always have a purpose for what you do, is what I would say. Like, just don't do just polish and just make moving holes just for the sake of doing it. Never.
Yeah, generally
I mean,
that.
I would rather. I mean, having said that, gone are the days where you really needed to really work on moving holes and stuff like that. Because now is a time when almost every other movie is embracing a very bold approach to animation, where you're really hitting poses and just holding them, and you're really letting that register. Like, it's more. Um, I don't know. It's like it's pushed in a way. I really like that because you don't have to do unnecessary things. Not to say that everything is unnecessary, but like on a movie like Dragons, How to Train Your Dragon, so Croods, it's probably more required there because it's more realism based. But then there are other movies like where you almost don't need it. I mean, the designs, it depends on the designs as well. Like, if it's really realistic designs, then perhaps it makes sense that you do all that. But if it's cartoony animation, you don't really need to do moving holds, man. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Like, really hold, like, just if you see Hotel Transylvania, I mean, they just hold the pose right away. There's nothing, there's no movement, nothing. And you're just being super bold in doing that. So yeah, let me just pull up something. I'm trying to see how I can.
So then, but what if somebody doesn't have the knowledge? Like, if they have to add that secondary animation, but then they don't know exactly that what should I do here?
So
According to
exactly, just question yourself. It's as simple as that. However you're coming up with ideas to do your shot, the same way you question yourself as to try to see if there is a motive that you can link whatever you're doing.
So like it is.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it's again shot specific, right? Like, if it's a performance shot, there are certain things that I would think of. If it's a mechanic shot, there's other certain things. It's hard to generalize it and say, but that is kind of an approach. I mean, let me just pull up. Let's see. I'm trying to. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
So okay, so this, I'm just going to go through this really quick. This is one of my set of shots on Boss Baby, and I mean, not the one that I can really brag a lot about, but it is still something that went through. I felt it went through a lot of improvement from where it started to where it ended, and so I'll just play this.
There is no sound, right?
Oh, there's no sound. How do I?
I'm not able to hear any sound, so I don't know. Maybe it is mute or there is any sound.
Oh yeah, wait.
Oh, billions. Billions. Yeah, but some things are more important than money.
So this is the layout pass. Okay, this is how it comes to us before we animate, and basically it's by the layout department. They take care of composition, and they position the characters and the camera, and make sure the story is the story beats a hit. So you have basic understanding of what the story beats are. So basically, in these shots, Armstrong, that's this guy, is really he's taking Boss through his Boss Baby. That's this guy. He's taking him through his lab, in which he's converted these babies to be able to code, and they're writing apps and all of that stuff. And Boss is like, bamboozled, like looking at all of this, like, this guy's a genius, like, he's completely wonderstruck. And so he's like, is that how you make millions? He says, it's not millions, it's billions. But some things are more important than money. So that's kind of what this is all about. Because he's getting to bigger things and explaining bigger things to boss.
Billions. Yeah, but some things are more important than money.
So basically, in this layout pass, there's a lot of information that's available to me, right? Like, where this guy is and how boss is, where he's on screen space, and then what is he doing? He's like, licking the bowl and then throwing it back, and then he, picks up popsicles and then sticks one into boss's mouth. Boss has his cup of ice cream, and then he's licking the popsicle, then looks back. So you get a basic understanding of the beats in the show.
Yeah.
So this is the layout, right? Like,
So this is
I have not yet started.
layout, like the layout also you do it, the animators do it?
No. This comes from the final layout department.
Yeah. That is what.
So they basically set up this whole. They set up this whole scene, the whole composition, the camera work, character placement, and the props and sets and everything that's required. So basically, it's our starting point. So we look at the layout and we see what needs to be done in the shot. We get an idea of it.
Yeah.
And then I think I have my blocking pass. Wait, yeah. So then I do my blocking. All right. So this is after. So for this one, I didn't shoot reference because it was again, this was based more out of drawing. Sometimes I'm not a good artist, but I can just tend to roughly sketch my ideas. So when I see, sorry, let me just pull that up again. So when I see things like these, I'm starting to question myself. Like, although I'm thinking of ideas to draw, think of poses, there are a lot of things happening here. Like, he's throwing the bowl, too many actions. Like, then he's reaching down, and then he picks up the popsicles and then separates them, and he's talking also, and then he's laughing and all that. So first thing that stuck to me was if I should make this a little more simpler in a way that I could combine a few beats and make it more simpler so that he's a little more on towards the center of the screen, because he keeps doing a lot of this back and forth.
Yes.
So I was wanting to negate that. So my drawing and my doodles or whatever needed to incorporate that idea and that way of thinking. So when I did blocking, I don't have the drawings to show, but this is my blocking pass.
Oh, billions. Yeah, but some things are more important than money.
So this blocking pass, for sure, I wanted to have fun with this first pose because I wanted to really dial in the babiness of this guy, like making him really enjoy that last bit of ice cream in the bowl. And I really wanted, this is rough, but I really wanted to stuff that bowl onto his face. And I tried to push his glasses up. His legs are sticking up. Almost like a off-balance baby kind of a thing. Like they're really wobbly in the way they do things. And then I get rid of the bowl, and instead of him reaching for the popsicles down, I thought it would be cool to get them with his legs.
Yeah.
So that way you really have him on the center of the screen. He's looking at boss, he's laughing, and it all also happens as like a second nature to him, like something that adds a little more to his attitude. So all of that he's doing without even looking at it. That kind of adds a little more to it.
It's like more interested in this, talking to him.
Yeah, it's basically talking to boss, and then he does this, and then I had to settle him in a pose again, which kind of shows a little more of authority. He needs to be a little more high-handed compared to boss. Boss is more like, what's this guy? And this guy needs to be like, I'm going to show you who the boss is. That's the kind of attitude that is required to. And then he sticks it in. And then, I hear even the way he's sucking the popsicle is something that I saw my daughter doing. And, they have this weird way of licking it from the top. So, and then again, he settles into this kind of a pose, which tries to get him into that authoritative way of communicating.
Some things
and even the look at boss. needed to be in a way that his chin was high, and then he had this angle to his head. So I'm thinking of all of that, like,
Yeah.
his arm on the armrest also adds to that. But this is not very pushed. So when I showed this, this was my first blocking, and although I knew where I was going with it, it wasn't as pushed. And when I showed it to the director, he said, "Yes, these are all the right intentions, but um, he needs to be a little high on sugar because he's having popsicles and he needs to like really go crazy with his energy." So that was my. You'll see when I do the anim pass, you'll see a big change in the way the energy shoots up right now.
Oh, billions. Billions. Yeah, but some things are more important than money.
So here it's a little more pushed. The energy is a little more pushed, and he starts to really he shoots up, and that's kind of when he says "but." And so when I'm doing again, so I'm okay. Let me just talk through some of the basics in terms of mechanics, so that for people who are watching this, they may understand, lead and follow what I do. So for example, here there's a lot of squash and stretch idea, right? Like I really am squashing and stretching his face into this whole thing, and it starts with the eye and the whole face stretches, and also the arm goes down. So notice that the arm is not going down exactly the same as head, the same time as his head is going up. So I'm delaying that. So you see the head going up and then the arm go down. So I'm trying to offset that, and also right, like his legs, they don't need to be like robotic in the way they go up and they come down. I'm trying to have them play around a little bit. So I'm involving some other axis. And it's not just with the legs. It originates from the hip. So his hip, because when you sit, hip is also taking a little bit of that rotation, that wobbliness. So it originates from his pelvis, his hip, and then emanates through his legs. There's a lot of squash and stretch kind of a thing happening. So again, I am trying to make sure that he just doesn't settle into this sideways pose. So there's a bit of overlap with the body that happens as he settles to the side. And I'm not doing that in a way that the head drags and he does this, but in the way that there is some other idea to it, like he's laughing, ha ha ha. So this is what I said. Like when you're doing things, add some motive to it instead of just doing it for the sake of an overlap. So and then you see that last bit of the head settle down, and then again here his arms, his screen right arm goes first, and then this arm comes up, and then what I'm doing here is I'm doing a crazy smear frame. Like if you see his elbow here, I'm just doing that over one frame just to mimic the feeling of a stretch, and it then just settles there. So when you play it in full speed, so I'm making sure that this elbow doesn't overshoot where his arm will end up in the next frame. So if you see my cursor is here, in the next frame, his arm is further from there. So I'm trying to make sure that even if I do something as crazy, this doesn't overshoot the next frame. And it's like super quick, like in one frame. And then I'm just doing a little bit of an overshoot there. So again, I'm trying to overshoot and overlap the, I'm trying to make these two arms a little separate. Though they come out at the same time, it's supposed to be one action. Like this, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this. So, you cannot do that. It is one action. And then I can make them separated the way they overlap and settle. This can overlap a little bit more, and this can overlap a little more tighter. So I'm trying to think of those ideas. And while all of that is happening, I'm trying to see what I can do with the legs. Because, again, I'm trying to make that happen around the time when something, nothing else is moving. So that it registers, or, it's at least stands up as a separate beat. So that goes on down, and there's a little bit of stretch happening. And then the upper leg, this leg is like more gentle in the way it settles down. Let me know if I'm taking too much time, and like I can just.
This is like quite good.
And then I wanted to really hook up this action into this next one. And again, there's stuff happening on his face, and then his head moves, and then his body moves over here. So trying to think of all that. And then here I'm starting it off with a squash. And then it starts with the head. So like, again, I'm really thinking, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. You really have to really figure out and break your head sometimes. But in this case, I really didn't want to do something for the sake of doing it. Like, I could have done an overlap where I could have done this with his chest and with the head. In a way, that it's how he settles down, but at least the way he goes up is through his eyes, like his eyelids, and then his head. You can see his upper head really lead. You see there?
Yeah.
It starts off with his upper portion of this, and then he really goes up, and then the rest of the body catches up. And then his hip goes down, and then it's still stretched, and then that settles down. And there's a bit of an overlap and a jiggle between the hip and the shoulder. But this stage, I try to do them explicitly. Yeah, and things like these, and trying to get some nice sense of a settle with his arm. And also whatever I'm doing with this popsicle is trying to make sure that it has an arc to it, the way it settles down. And again, trying to see if I can get some interesting poses with his hands. So that's very important, right? Like, I'm talking more about the process of animating right now, but what's more important is the poses, like how you really, the kind of poses that you really want to feature.
So like, it is not restricted, right? Like when we get the layout, so it is not restricted to those poses, whatever we have in the
No. Yeah, you can go just
your
crazy.
ideas.
Yeah. And even this, right? Like, I was trying to make sure that this sticks out in silhouette to make sure that it reads properly. And then this whole bit of coming forward as well. Like, as he's gesturing, he's coming forward as well.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, but some things are more important than money.
And then this whole conversation about the facial animation. There's a lot of things happening with the face, like shapes that we really were trying to work and to get. And then this final animation.
So like, how much time,
was that?
like how much time did you take, like, to animate this shot? What was the deadline?
These were done over 3 weeks, I think.
For just this shot?
For all the 3 shots. I think 3 weeks or 3 weeks.
No, I'm talking about this, what you showed, like this.
This one?
Okay, all the 3 shots we are having in this 7 seconds, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks for this thing.
These 3 shots.
Yeah. So from the layout, you the layout file, and then you do it, like finally get approved that whole process.
Yeah, we almost never use layout. I mean, we don't have layout content when you open our software. So we have characters in the T-pose the same way, like anybody would start. The layout is just an image. I mean, a movie that we refer to. It's like an editorial.
Yeah.
So we can even pull that up on our screen, but we almost can never use those poses. I mean, I wouldn't even want to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the final animation. Involves some other, things. Small refining.
Billions.
This conversation can go on for hours and hours together if I was to really talk about it in depth, but I'm just going to take you through super fast. So I'll just play this.
Billions. Yeah, but some things are more important than money.
So that's and then the final lighting. This is how it looks in the movie.
Billions. Yeah, but some things are more important than money.
So yeah. And I would this is another
I got you, Tabitha. I got you.
That's my big brother.
Thanks,
I don't think this is the right
Marcus
version.
Lightspeed.
So much.
Sorry, man. It's been quite a while since I opened these. So what's this?
So much of feeling into the shot, like What do you mean?
Yeah, so this was a very
got you,
crucial
Tabitha.
moment in the movie. I was very happy to animate.
I gotcha. That's my big brother.
Thanks, Marco's Lightspeed.
I thought we both had to grow up.
Well, let's not grow up too fast. I love you, Dad.
I love you, Tabitha Templeton.
Aww.
So yeah, that I don't know if it gave you some insights on what the process is, but it's hard to summarize that. I have to be really honest. Like, it requires a really long session
Yeah.
because there's so many things that go into it.
Hmm.
I just kind of touched upon some of the main things.
So like if you want to maybe share the pointers, then what would be the most like few important things that one should take care of while animating the shot that would improvise or give you better idea about the shot?
I think it's always it's so hard again, this question.
What I thought is about observation. Like the more you observe things, the more ideas you get to put in your shots.
See, it's observation. There is two things to it. Like if you were to ever think of animation, if you were to break down animation into its fundamental, um, into its building blocks, what according to you are those building blocks? One is poses, and
Yeah.
the other movement. So, like I usually have this kind of a mental table where, like for example, every pose, what makes a pose really work well? One is the graphical appeal to the pose, and the other is the emotional appeal to the pose. Right? Like it needs to really convey an emotion, and it also needs to be appealing in terms of its silhouette and the graphical value of the pose. The same way, movement. Like what makes movement appealing? One is uh, you know the graphical quality of the movement, like really caricaturing the way something moves, and also the emotional quality of the movement. Like if somebody is sad, he's going to move in a particular way. So I think good animation basically is like checking all these boxes. Like your poses need to be graphically appealing, emotionally appealing. The movement needs to be graphically appealing and emotionally appealing.
So like all
Um,
these things, like the emotions and all those things, you learned it while like being into the industry and doing the shots and
yeah,
animation
it's a step-by-step thing,
step
man.
by
Because
step thing.
yeah,
Yes.
because you almost can never think that when you finish your uh, training or your school, let's say
Yeah.
you were to just learn,
Yeah.
you can almost never, at least don't even put yourself under that pressure, I would say,
Mm.
because it's always a gradual process.
Learning process.
It's like
Yeah.
climbing a mountain, right? Like
Yeah.
you can see the peak. You cannot say that I've already reached the peak.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are
Absolutely.
still looking at the peak and trying to climb up.
Yeah.
So as long as that's the way of looking at things, you know that you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Just keep going, and then things will start to you'll start to as long as you're open to really understanding and
Yeah.
really appreciating different ways and different opinions,
Yes.
that really helps you a lot as an
Yeah.
animator. If you're rigid in your way, like
Yes.
no, this is the way I do it, this is what it is, I know this, I mean, because this is how I've learned, and that's how somebody taught me, and that's what it is, and I don't think I need to think of anything else at all. That's the way it is.
Yes.
But unfortunately, for some people might work, but I would say that it wouldn't almost never work.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even the people who teach you say that take it with a pinch of salt. Like this is my perspective. So there's so
Yes.
many different perspectives.
Yes.
So your whole understanding of animation is like as long as you appreciate as many
Yes.
perspectives,
Yes.
you will really you won't really have a holistic appreciation of
Yes.
things.
Yes.
So
Yes. You keep on
I
improving.
don't know what your question was. I just started talking about something.
No, no, like what was the important pointers if you want to like what you mentioned is you should
Yeah, I
take
would
care about
say
the
important
poses.
pointers, just to be
Yes,
specific, poses are very important.
yes, yes,
Pay as much importance to poses as you can.
yes.
Spend as much time on posing as you can.
Mm.
It is because it creates it is the one that really makes those movements really memorable. Like
Yes,
it's not about moving. Like you can move, but if you don't have a motive to your movement, if you cannot really register anything in that movement, then what's the whole point? Because you really need to, your movement is really facilitating like joining poses, joining two poses. Like movement is what happens between poses. So you really need to first focus on posing. So for that, even without animating, I would recommend people to really try out pose tests, to really take one image and try to really recreate that with a rig, and also try to push and exaggerate that and try to make it more like a caricatured version of that pose. So that is very important. That's something I do even to this day, when I at least I try to do as much as I can when on almost every shot when I animate. And then I also make sure that you're clear in the way you're communicating. Don't mix ideas. Don't be too flamboyant, trying to put too many things. Learn to know when to do what, and always ask yourself that question. Like, it's not about what you know and how much you know. It's about when you choose to do that and where you choose to do that. That's perhaps even more important. Just because you're a super cartoony animator doesn't mean that every shot you start to put in your gimmicks and say that, hey, this is the way I animate. I mean, it's not going to work. So knowing when to do what is very important. Like, just like Sachin, when he hit that 241 in Sydney, you follow cricket, right?
Yeah, I used to follow. I saw that.
Okay. Anyways, I sometimes give this example because when he hit 241 in Sydney, he never played the cover drive. It's not that he didn't know how to play the cover drive. He chose not to play because it was getting him out. So exactly what it is, like the converse is also true. Like, where to hold off on doing something broad and where to choose properly, so that you can get it through practice and through experience as well. But then it's something to keep in mind. And then while animating, again, think of what's leading, what's following. Don't always do overlappy stuff.
Like, what would you like to tell the students or anyone who wants like career in animation? So how they should see this career? Like, what should be their thinking while they approach this? Like, if somebody tells that, okay, I want a career in animation. So what should be their focus on? Like, somebody comes to the learning process just for certification. What they think is, if I get certified, I'll get a job. Somebody thinks that, okay, I'll make more money. It is a money making this thing. And somebody
See,
has,
it's different perspectives, man. You know what you said is also true. Like, there are certain jobs that just require a certification, and that you can move things, and it's perhaps what they need. So it depends on who needs what.
but
Because if you
then
need to go further in your field, and you really want to do more refined stuff that's more appealing, then you have a different path for that. And for people, I know a lot of people who just want to know the basics of doing something and say, okay, fine, I just do this and I have a certification. I'll get a certification because I'll get a job, and
yeah.
I'll approach this company and they get a job and they're happy they're doing what they're doing.
No,
So
but in terms of animation, like as far as animator, like somebody if wants he wants to or she wants to become an animator. So as far as that designation is concerned, is the certification required? Like, or may you should have the skills and the right knowledge.
of course you have, I mean, it goes without saying, right? Skills and knowledge is more important, because like I dare say that, I mean, but there are certain companies that may require you to do certain things, like they may say, hey, you don't have this
Okay,
certification. I don't know if they still do it that way, but
okay, might be a
most
possibility.
likely, because when we used to look for people at DreamWorks Bangalore,
Yeah,
we almost never ever saw where they came from or what
yeah,
certification. We
that's what
just only looked at their demo reel.
that's what
And
I also experienced in.
it's always just the work that speaks. And
Oh,
we would only look for your resume, look at your
yeah,
resume when we had to contact you, your number
yeah.
and your email ID. That's about it. And then if we really liked your work, and we would say, hey, this guy or this girl is really good, let's go through the profile. Oh, this. I mean, but uh, almost never ever a certification. But I don't know. There may be some companies that might need.
So
I'm
like
not sure.
if I talk about DreamWorks, then if somebody wants to get into DreamWorks, then they should be focusing more on the learning and the skills and expertise, right? Like more on
Absolutely.
the animation part. not for the, like thinking about the other stuffs?
No, there is so much of stuff available online these days, and that I don't even know if people really, because there are courses for sure. Online courses are the best, I would say, in animation.
Yes.
But going through those courses is recommended, not for the certification, but more about the exposure that you
Learning.
get,
Yes, yes, yes.
because you get to work with mentors who are in the industry. So
What do you think that the challenges they are facing, or there is a common set of problems you see, or a common set of things you see in the freshers, like animators?
I think it is going into the depths of analysis of a particular reference or a particular performance before you actually start to animate. I think that is very, very important. How the deeper you go, the more you get out of it. So it depends on how deep you go. Like if you just, I mean, they can be like two different animators and one, they can be given the same reference, but then the way this guy would animate would be completely different from the
Yeah,
way the other guy would.
absolutely.
So first guy would just probably just see, oh yeah, he's just sitting on the chair and then he's just, probably picking up his phone. And the second guy would probably think, okay, wait, what did he do? Did he put his hand on the table? Okay, wait, how did he put his hand? His uh, was his palm like this, or was his finger like that? Or he would think of all that. Was his elbow sticking out? Or, okay, when he started to go down, did his head look down? Did he do something with his with his eyes or something? And what is his expression like? And was he thinking about something? Did he look around? So he's asking all those questions, and he's looking for those questions, answers for those questions in the reference. So the deeper you analyze a reference, the more you get out of it, and the more data you have to animate when you animate.
So
But
this
if you just look at it on the surface and you just animate,
Mm.
you say that, hey, I've animated something. Well, I mean, it again caters to a different,
project
a different project. Like, it could be
Yes.
something that is required, like in a day's time, you need to work on something and animate. So
Yes.
perhaps that's the best approach. But then if you were to really push yourself to do something like feature quality stuff, you need to really
Mm.
understand and go really deep into
Mm.
analyzing a shot.
So this is like
So
an analysis part. We have to do it before starting the shot. Like think deeply about it. What can I do, or is it is a gradual process? Like
even while animating, dude, like it's not just at the starting. Even while animating, like like my animation is so haphazard that I can destroy my shot at any point in time. Maybe even the day before it needs to be submitted, I might just, if my mind is convinced of something that is going to work much better, I might just scrap it all off and I might just type and message my production team saying that, hey, I just might be a little delayed. I just have some more work on this. So please give me some more time. And I would just go all out and try to get that, because, it really doesn't sit well with me if I had a thought in my mind, but I couldn't really do it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know where I was going with this thought. Sorry. Can
no,
you
no, you were
remind me?
absolutely on the like correct thing you were trying to say.
Okay. Sorry, it's a little too late here, and maybe I'm just.
Yeah, no problem. Like what
No, I
else
can I
would
can talk.
you,
Not a problem. Yeah.
like what else from your end would you like to share, like with people?
Yeah. So well, sorry, this is I remember what I was trying to tell. So when it comes to um, uh, analysis, like going into the depths is one thing. Even while animating is another thing. And I think having a big heart is very, very important in animation, because the more you try to really shield your shot and not show it to people thinking that, hey, I might get notes now or then, um, the more it's going to really slow down your progress, I would say. Because I think getting feedback, like the worst feedback, is the best thing sometimes that can happen to the shot. Like, and all it matters is getting a bad feedback is not like a bad thing to you. Like, of course, it feels really, really bad when you get a feedback, even to this day. Like, sometimes you show something that you really like but then the director has a completely different opinion and says, hey, this is not quite working, it's not what you wanted. And okay, so you really feel bad, but then how you come back after that is what really defines you as an animator. And that really talks about how you accept those things that need to be changed, and how much of your ego you can throw out of the window to embrace this new idea. And so that is something that really seasons you as an animator. And even when you're doing something new, putting in all your heart and soul to it, not doing for the sake of proving that this is not a good idea. Sometimes people do that, like, I'll do this just for the sake of proving that this is not a good idea because it came from him. I'll just do a dirty version, and I'll show that, look, it's not working. And I'll get done with this. I'll just throw this to the side. I'll take my version and work on it. No, I would say at every point in time, whatever feedback I got from my leads and soup, I went and I really tried to really explore it from their viewpoint and see if it really is what they meant. And then 80% of the time I really really experienced that it was true. Like, it was true what they meant. And then that way it now is expanding my horizons as well. It's like I'm not thinking my own way. I'm now starting to really embrace their way of thinking as well. So that really helps you as an animator. And
how do you
man,
handle this thing? Like this happens, like even if you have that mindset that, okay, if I get the corrections, I'll improve the shot. But then what happens sometimes is because of the deadlines, we get frustrated. Like, why is he giving this correction?
Yeah, deadlines can really frustrate you, I know. And the work culture is different in India. I know. I was working in India for quite a while.
Yes.
Because here, if there are changes like that, and if you really need time, you get time here, because we are a product company. But most companies in India are service companies, right? Like, so that's where the biggest difference is. Even be it a VFX vendor, he's a service company.
Yes.
So you can almost never bargain on the deadline part of it.
Yeah.
But having said that, there have been challenges that I faced while I was in VFX, and I did overcome, and I did try out my own versions, the versions that I was satisfied with, and trying to incorporate changes from the leads in the soup. There is a way to work it all out, but it's like, being a little more it's like this: when you start off, you're a little more vulnerable, but when you reach a stage, when you get feedback, you already know so much about the shot, so it's a lot more quicker.
Yes.
So that's how I look at it. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes. That's what I also experienced. Like when I used to work, I felt the same thing. Like, even if you put your heart and soul, and when the deadlines are so short, and at the end point when you get the corrections, then you feel like you get frustrated with why is it this necessary, or maybe why should I do
it? I mean, corrections are corrections. It needs to be done, and then you should ask production as to what is priority, because you can say that, hey, look, there are these many points, like A, B, C, D, whatever, and I have 1 day time. This will take this much of time. This is the biggest thing. This will take so much of time. So I don't have time for this. So if you want me to prioritize the last 3 points, and I can do that. If you want me to prioritize this, I can do that. But if it's all of this, I will need some more time. Be upfront. But I mean, that's the way it should be communicated. I don't know how the teams in India take it, but I'm pretty sure the bigger companies would really appreciate this kind of a feedback, and then they would try to accommodate it.
Yeah, but majorly when we see that majorly the studios are like what you mentioned, is like a service kind of company. Like very few of them like really focus on the creative part, because every time
it's always the volume, right? It's like it's quantity, not the quality sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is why I'm always like into knowing that how actually the work happens outside India. Like, if somebody can share their knowledge, like how exactly it happens.
No, I think it's a service company. As a service company, it's the same work culture everywhere. Like, you are always bound by deadlines, and you need to finish it. And if it's a really, the company really cares about the quality of its product, then of course it might just make some kind of a an adjustment, but if not, that's what it is. It's the same case even here as well. I've heard a lot of stories about even companies here.
So it's the same, like the
Yeah, yeah,
students
yeah. It's
I'm
not
talking
just
about.
India. Like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Like I'm talking about the animation part, like the deadlines which we get here and the deadlines which you get there. So because of the
I mean,
quality,
if it's DreamWorks you're talking about, it's different because DreamWorks, they will somehow let you do what you. I mean, not just that they'll give you all the time that you need. You
yes,
all obviously have milestones that you need to hit.
yes, yes,
But if say you are delayed by say a few days, they're saying they would say okay, and even by a week it's fine. But then if it's beyond a week, they'll say, hey, do you think we can prioritize just this for now, and then would start to kind of negotiate with you.
yes,
It's
yes.
almost never like okay, that's it, you don't have any more time.
Mhm.
Because it's usually they usually care about the quality, and as long as
Yeah.
you're doing that, they wouldn't mind giving you that extra time to put in that extra care uh, onto your shots.
So if an animator like tries to put in more efforts and try to get a better version in the deadlines, then it would be like a great opportunity for them to grow faster. And if they
Yeah,
are able to make deadlines with the quality, then it is very much good for them.
yeah. And again, depends on your workflow and how fast you are and how effectively you can do things. A lot of things to it. Yeah,
So that's all about it. And thank you so much. Thank you so
no
much for
problem. My
sharing your
pleasure.
time. It's
My
almost
pleasure.
around 1.5 hours, I think, 90 minutes or so.
Yeah, 1.5 hours. My God. Okay.
Almost 90 minutes. Like I'm really thankful to you that you are like sharing this knowledge and your
No
experience
problem,
with
man.
us. Yes.
No problem. I mean, I really wanted to support you in this, uh, and that's why I kind of wanted to participate because it really felt that you were wanting to help people
Yes.
starting up in animation to really understand what it is,
Yes.
and which is where like I was telling you, I was also in the same boat.
Mm.
In the same boat when I started off, like I was really looking out for guidance, and if I can do that for someone, then I'm really happy. So which is why I said yes, and I could talk with you.
We can connect later on again. But as of now, it is fine and it is like absolutely, absolutely great. Whatever you shared, this will
No
help
problem,
like
man. Totally.
a lot of students. And I know that you are like tired from your whole day and now you want to go to sleep.
No,
And
that's totally
you
fine.
are
That's totally fine.
waking
I
up
usually
for
sleep
this.
around this time. Not a problem.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And thanks a lot for like joining this show and sharing your experience.
No
And
problem, man. My pleasure. All the best.
thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you guys for watching this show till the end. And I hope that this show has added a lot of value to you. And I would really thank Mr. Prashanth that he shared his experience working on different projects. And he has also shared his experience working on Boss Baby 2. He has shared even the different passes of animation, like how he did those shots and what he was thinking behind the scenes while he was doing that. So I also learned a lot of things from him now, and I think that this has added a lot of value to you as well. So if you liked this show and if you like this video, do share it among your friends and subscribe my YouTube channel for receiving all these updates. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon in the next episode. Till then, take care and God bless.